Welcome, my name is Bernardo Vargas. I am Dr. Nearshoring, and I want to welcome you to a new chapter of Manufacturing in Mexico for Dummies. Today I want to devote this chapter to the latest reforms to Mexican Constitution. Why is this important? Because these reforms are really are going to have a big impact, a big negative impact in the Mexican economy, and unfortunately in the foreign investment. So as this series of videos are focused in the nearshoring process, I want to share these latest risks with you. So I think in the previous videos we talk about the change to the judicial power, quickly reminding you that change was today in Mexico we have a system where the judges and the ministers are selected by career development. In other words, by score in their careers. Sorry, I have a little allergy, and I have to take care of my nose. But anyway, and now what the previous government from López Obrador pushed to change was to make a system based on democratic vote from the population. Many critics inside the country, outside the country, and a big part of the population was completely against this change. However, this change in the constitution was implemented because in the last elections, the majority from the Senate was won by the party in the government, which is Morena. They won the lower and the higher chamber, diputados and senators. So they can make any change they want. There's no obstacle. So they the big problem that we expect with this change to the constitution is that the judges and the ministers and the whole judicial power to the federal level is going to be very highly influenced by the party in the government. Why? Because most of the candidates are promoted by them, and they are going to form let's say the pre-screening process, picking the pre-screening experts. So you can imagine, and then these judges, all the judges at the federal level, and the ministers, pretty much all the judicial power is going to be in government's pocket. So now you can imagine the big risk that the private citizens and the private companies we're going to be in. So that's going to happen in 2025. At the moment, they have started the process, and the election is going to be in I think April or May 2025. So by June 2025, they are going to change the first 50% of judicial power personnel. Okay, so but the change in constitution that and then the other one was talking about, which is also very important, very relevant for the foreign investment and for nearshoring and for companies considering to come to Mexico, evaluating risk, etc., is the change in the constitution to the energy. Now the control to the whole structure and services of oil industry in Mexico returned to Pemex. With the previous reform implemented by Peña Nieto government, the organization known as Regulatory Energy Commission was controlling, and also the Commission of Oil Industry. I think we can translate it in that way. Was controlling the industry, but now with the new government of López Obrador, they changed the laws, not the constitution. They changed the secondary laws, and they removed that and they put it into Pemex. Well, now all the changes that the previous government of López Obrador made now are official and they're in the constitution, and this is very bad because the utility, electric utility production company, is only one in Mexico, and it's a monopoly. Same as Pemex, which is the oil industry, is a monopoly. Now all the power returned to those two government-owned companies. So all the market that was created and all the competition that was in process to be installed in Mexico now is, in the best case, in pause. It's stopped. And during the last years has been a lot of controversy and legal trials between the government and the foreign investors, and this caused really a very bad impression among the countries investing in this market in Mexico. The impression is really bad. The autocracy of the government is terrible, and is the picture that the companies are taken from this, and it's real, now they want to have a central government where everything is controlled by the government. The Senate, like I said, the Senate, the Chamber of Representatives here, the judicial power, and then the supply of oil, the supply of utility is controlled by the government. And they are considering expanding more in investing in the economy, like taking more action in what it used to be private sector, right? So I think it's a very, very bad perspective. In my opinion, companies should be managed by private and private investment. Companies in hand of governments are bad business. Absolutely. There's no efficiency. There's no productivity. There's no any incentive for those companies to be productive, and it's the same in the world. I think in many countries they have been changing For example, all communist countries, they have been making all the government-owned companies privatizing, and now many are very productive. So, but in this case, it's different. We're going backwards. So, the subject of today is now there are the change is again not a very actually very negative change in Mexico. When the TL and the NAFTA was first implemented, the commitment from Mexico to implement NAFTA was to establish an autonomous organizations to regulate the action of government. Now, with the full power of the new government from Claudia Sheinbaum and following instructions from the previous president, López Obrador, this regulatory autonomous institutions that have been working for, I think, for more than 20 years, some of them 25 years. Now they have been working, and they have been a reason of the success of the NAFTA in Mexico and the respect of the government for the rights of the companies and the rights of the private citizens now are going to disappear. They're going to make them disappear. The government claim is to save money, but we all know, because the budget for these organizations, for these institutions, is only 1.5% of the total budget of year 2025, or what it used to be 2024. So it's truly a lie. It's just an excuse. And then the other big excuse is that this autonomous institutions were corrupt. Neither the previous government or this government have ever proved anyone from this working on these organizations has committed an act of corruption or anything like that, felony, anything like that. So let me just go through them. Those are about six or seven. The first one is INAI. This institute is focused in keeping the protection of the personal data privacy, but also this institution is in charge of making transparent the information from government. In other words, if a regular citizen has an issue with a process with government, and they want to get the information the government has regarding that process in their hands, they go through INAI, that's the name, they go through INAI, they put a requisition, and the government is forced to give this information. With that, the regular citizen can continue with the process and defend himself against the power of the government. This has been a tremendous help for the news, for the media, because they have access to many, not all, but many government records that if this institution was not in place, they wouldn't have. But now it's gonna disappear. So there's a big chance that now government is gonna be able to do things that previously they had they were more careful in not doing. Now there's a big chance, because nobody is going to be watching, and they don't have to report to no one, no accountability. So think about that. Okay, big risk right there. And for foreign companies investing, it's also a huge risk. Defending a case against government, not having this the support of this agency is gonna make things much more difficult, if not impossible. Okay, then the other one is the Coneval. This Coneval is an organization devoted to evaluate government support in social aspects. In other words, how the minimum wage is doing, what is the level of wealth that the different population groups or classes is having, from middle class, high class, low class. Measure all these variables, put it in front of government to demand improvement, put it in front of the society, so the society can follow up with corresponding agencies of the government. Okay, that's Coneval. Comisión Federal de Competencia Económica, this is COFECE. This COFECE is also very important because this institution was established to avoid the monopoly, for example, to avoid the a certain company executes a certain larger company, or the largest company in the market, executes with the power their plans and impact the rights of other companies to participate in that market, like a free competition agency. Very important. It helped a lot. You remember, probably or probably not, that Mexico was coming from a large period, period of time where many companies were privatized back in 90s. Well, all these new companies were in certain extent protected by government, and many other companies, because the market was just open from foreign companies, they started investing here in Mexico. Well, this organization helped to keep a market health, and all the competitors, let's say, in rights, to keep the rights respected. Okay. Then Instituto Federal de Telecomunicaciones, it's pretty much similar to the previous one, but this is focused on a telecommunication market. This helped a lot when AT&T came to compete with Telmex, and also, for example, the networks, the TV networks, cable networks, cellular phones, all those competitors in those markets were many. But the biggest competitor, the largest, was in one hand Telmex. That was the phone company owned by government. Then it was sold to a private owner, which is Carlos Slim. He's the richest person in Mexico and one of the richest person in the world. This institution, independent autonomous institution, was in charge of keeping the rights of all the competitors in that market, to take care that Telmex was not influencing wrongfully the market, or not respecting the rights of all the other players. So it was instrumental. It was an excellent function in the processes that actually achieved that the price of phone service in Mexico reduced 100%, because before was very, very expensive. And now it's very competitive with the rest, with the rest of the world. Particularly with the U.S., I think we don't see a big difference versus rates that are charged in the U.S. by U.S. telephone companies. Okay. Then the other one is Comisión Nacional de Hidrocarburos. That's the CNH. It's another regulation organization focused in the oil industry. The function is the same. Is to keep all the oil industry private participants, to keep them safe from the actions and decisions of Pemex, of the large monopoly. Yes, so it's obvious it was required. And then the other one is Comisión Reguladora de Energía. This is the CRE. This is exactly the same as the oil industry, but this is focused on the electric generation industry. The purpose was the same, to keep all the participants in the electric industry, but this impacts users as well, not only companies. Obviously this impacts big users, commercial users, or residential users. So this responsibility of this autonomous organization was enormous, but it was also to protect the other new participants from the private sector. All those companies that start participating in, I think it was about 2010, and then they start modernizing the infrastructure, installing new gas generation plants, installing solar panels, photoelectric energy, also the wind generation. They participate in all of this, and they were competing, generating electricity with the big monopoly, with CFE. And this organization make sure implemented rules for having a fair market. It was really interesting. But now López Obrador make a request of change to the constitutions since February 5th of this year, and together with other 19, this already got into the Senate, and both chambers in the Senate approved it. And I think as recent as the last week, it was finally approved. And also during 2025, these organizations are going to disappear. This is a shame, and it's a terrible scam from the government, because what the government is saying is that all the functions are going to pass to government agency, no third party. It's impossible. The government is going to take care of the government. Nobody with two fingers of face, the front, brain, is going to believe this lie. Nobody. These changes to the Constitution have received several criticism from external, foreign sources. For example, newspapers in the U.S. like Washington, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Financial Times, the Economist. Very tough criticism, and the biggest problem is that foreign investors are looking into this. And when you put together all these changes to the Constitution in one, the judges being elected by government, in the pocket of the government, and then no third-party regulatory, I think the citizen is going to be unprotected. It's going to be in risk to be a victim of abuse from the government. That's the first impression that I have. I hope I'm wrong, but we're going to see this through 2005. Now, what is the recommendation? Okay, if you are coming to invest, you were planning to invest, as I was in my previous videos, I was trying to provide help for certain guidance how to conduct your project coming into Mexico. Now I tell you, pay attention. This is a big red light. And what I would do is wait during 2025. I don't know if you can postpone your project or reduce, or maybe if it's necessary, if it's urgent, maybe try a shelter and reduce the investment, reduce the risk. I think when you go to shelter, you're going to have the benefits that you're going to be, if you have a good shelter and you have good attention and you hire a good project manager and a good general manager, I think you're going to be in good hands. It's very important that your company keeps a low profile to avoid show up in the radar screen of the government agencies, to avoid hurdles and roadblocks and the intention of charging with big, huge fines coming from nowhere, okay, to avoid corruption, okay. So that's my advice. Try to wait for 2005, watch what's going to be happening, because remember, we also have our friend Donald Trump. I'm going to talk about that and the economic outlook of Mexico budget in the next in the next chapter. Okay, I hope this information helped you. Thank you very much. My name is Bernardo Vargas, and I am Dr. Nearshoring, and I hope to see you in our next edition. Thank you very much.